Kia ora, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the first Citizen A of 2011. This is where we wrap the week's current affairs with the best political team on television from a very Auckland perspective. Warning, we're as fair and balanced as Fox News. Joining me tonight on a revolving panel of bloggers and Auckland opinion shapers. Here's our version of Julian Assange, minus the weird sex scandals. He runs the best independent news site in New Zealand, providing journalists too left wing for gainful employment and means to pay the bills. He is known as the thinking woman's bit of crumpet, editor of scoop.co.nz, the ever brilliant Selwyn Manning. And his blog has been described as a hate speech site on meth, mainly by me. He makes Genghis Khan look like a moderate. Tax redistribution is like kryptonite to him. The unsuppressible Darth Vader of the right-wing blogosphere, Cameron Slater. Welcome to you both. Coming up tonight, issue 1. Glenn Brown saves the suffrage monument, calls for free swimming pools and dreams of trains. But most of his 52 of the 100 things he will do in the first 100 days seem as vague as a stoner with the munchies. How is he doing so far, and what should his priorities be in 2011? Issue 2, Botany by-election. Who would have thought so many people would be keen to follow in Pansy Wong's footsteps? Who will be the National Party candidate? And what's with the new Citizens Party meeting in Beijing to discuss running in botany? Issue 3 tonight. Hone Harawira is in trouble with the Māori Party for suggesting they've been captured by the Wellington political elite. Is this just another reason why the capital should be moved back to Auckland? And we'll end the show on a final word, but let's kick things off with issue 1. He promised 100 things in 100 days, but so far he seems pretty stretched thin. How is Len doing, and what should his priorities be in 2011? Selwyn, okay, so Len saved the suffrage monument, not because we should rejoice in expanding the universal franchise of democracy, but because the wanky arts fraternity who wanted it dumped have as much influence as Cam does at the UN. Is Len leading or floundering?
I think he's got to regroup and he's got to reassess exactly where he has to go this year in particular. He's got to lay down an essential component of re-establishing a culture that actually represents Auckland.
Right.
It's a real hard task.
Yep.
And I think that's where this kind of...
But he doesn't know.
I think this is where this type of decision comes from, and
Yep.
trying to actually say, no, we're going to hold on to some of these icons that represent to a lot of people something.
Yep.
But that's all fine.
Yep.
But we've really got to see some political framework laid down that is going to be necessary to then be placing some of those big ticket items he campaigned on in place in this first year of his 3-year term.
Well, where's he going to get the money from to do those big ticket items?
That's the challenge.
He jacked up rates by 4.9%, and that's just to pay the bills now. If he wants to even add the rail loop on, it's going to be a rates increase that's a percentage that no one, not even the wildest pinko in the world, is going to be able to contemplate selling.
However, the savings that those mass transports do bring into the city are going to balance that out.
We just don't have the population to support it.
Of course we do. Len's list of 52 things to date seem very tenuous, don't they? The Business Advisory Panel, the Civil Defence Preparedness Test, the Neighbourhood Civil Defence Response Plans. These were all things that existed. Promising 100 ideas in 100 days is difficult if you only have 5 ideas.
I only counted 3. I only counted 3 original ideas. Mayor in the chair was 1.
Is he leading or is he floundering?
He's floundering, absolutely floundering. He's out of his depth in a car park puddle, and he's proving that on a daily basis. This list of 52 is pretty much business as usual for a council. Some of them are legislated to be required anyway, so they're hardly mayoral projects.
Yep.
And then he's bizarrely claiming, practice fields and things like that for the Rugby World Cup as part of his initiatives. And even worse, claiming things that were finished under the previous council as his projects. It's just bizarre, and it just shows that...
He's not unique in that respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, he's a politician, of course.
But the reality is a lot of mayors do that.
But what we've got here, I'll tell you what we've got here is we've got a slogan, I'm going to do 100 things in 100 days, and then reality bit, we get to 70, what are we at, day 80? Day 81. He's got to day 81 and realised, holy hell, I've only got 20 days left, I better come up with something.
Right.
And they've scratched up a list of business as usual stuff that's either inherited from the ARC, legislated by the law required.
Clearly what's required is a strategic political plan put into place. You know, all of this kind of floundering around that we've witnessed since the election.
Yeah.
If you're in Len Brown's shoes, it's got to be put to
Very
bed.
small shoes.
It's got to be laid out on the table exactly what they're going to be doing.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know what he wants to do.
And you can't leave it to mid-term and the last year of a term to actually put some of these policies out there for people to consider.
Isn't that 100 things in 100 days? It's just a dumb idea. It was a dumb slogan, right?
It's like most of the things that Len Brown does and says. It's public relations and it's a slogan. It's like him catching the train the other day from Papatoe.
You know, the facts are that the majority of Aucklanders who voted felt he was the best person to do the job of those who are out.
Sure.
Huge
so
landslide.
It's early days here. There's no honeymoon period in the government.
But if
and it's time that
surely
those
when you've got a
around
mandate
Brown
like that,
actually sorted out some of these kind of frail kind of areas and actually put down a solid plan, then we can start to assess how effective. How he's going to pay for some of these things is where the ideology kicks in. You have your vision and your goals that's outside of the ideology, and then you work out. Now, really, I would say John Key and the National Party campaigned on PPPs and campaigned on infrastructure development. That's where the bulk of the money should be coming from. Auckland is already paying big tax from this region. It's about time it got some of that back.
But all these things that Len's put out on his 100, my grandfather would have called that pissing about the periphery, right? It's not important stuff. It's business as usual. It's the things that the actual council employees should be and are doing.
I think too,
he's not
what we're
focusing
seeing,
on
that's all great,
getting things to happen.
But I think too, what we are seeing is for the first time we're really starting to realise what having these CCOs in silence and in private really means.
They're
for
supposed
us
to be
here.
doing all of that
We're used
stuff.
to seeing inside the lid of these things, and now we aren't. So all the focus is on the mayor and a few councillors to see what they're doing
But
about things.
There's an old saying.
But there's an old saying. National Party for all of
There's
this.
an old saying though that you start as you mean to go on, and if this is Len Brown's start, then I hate to think what's to come.
Define your legacy in the first.
Well, he's not.
Len's brilliant plan for more public transport. Brilliant plan for more public transport won't bear fruit
for other people.
Won't bear fruit for a decade. But doesn't he need a project he can hold up in 3 years' time from now to show Aucklanders he's making progress?
Progress is the key word, Bomber. You know, he needs to be able to demonstrate.
Well, he's going to catch the train twice a week from Papatoe.
If there's any message from some of us who kind of watch these things, and I think Cam's in the same ballpark here, is that. Forget all the nonsense, forget all the posturing and trying to actually see who is going to be with me in the chamber, who in the public is going to subscribe to me. The election's over, get out there and actually use the mandate.
Cam, Len wants free swimming pools, whereas John Banks seemed to only want deeper swimming pools with no lifeguards in South Auckland. Why shouldn't the city provide public services? Aren't you and the right wing just critical of Len because you hate the concept of public?
It's not about John Banks. I mean, the only council in the Auckland region, which has now taken in all, what was it, 7 before? The only council was Manukau that had free swimming pools.
That's
so it's not just John Banks. It was also the Mad Mayor from the North Shore who didn't have free swimming pools.
Your mate.
There's also out west.
But you just don't like the idea of public.
I don't see what the issue is of a gold coin payment to attend a swimming pool.
You know, I think there's some kind of pragmatism can kick in here too. If somebody lived outside of the region, I feel that they should pay.
They do that in Rotorua. If you go to any
ratepayers,
if you do go to any attraction in Rotorua and prove that you're a local, you get a substantial discount on the attractions there. And the same thing should apply here. If you're a ratepayer in the Auckland region, you go to your swimming pools, it's a small fee. If you're not from here, if you can't prove that you're from the Auckland region, then by all means charge them $5 or $10 to go to the pools.
The whole ethos, basically, of free access to swimming pools.
There's no such thing as free. Someone has to pay the bill.
There's two things running here. One is that you've got swimming pools as an example of an inclusive Auckland.
Yep.
You know, a cultural indicator, really. And that's what they're trying to do. Well, that's what these elected people are trying to do here. The other thing is in Auckland, we have a huge body of people who can't swim. Now, there's got to be some sort of social progress in a really, in a sound way when you consider how many people drown in this country.
Having free access to swimming pools is not going to help them swim.
Well,
However, having no, it doesn't. having subsidised swimming lessons would, but a lot of no, hang on a second. A lot of people learn to swim at schools. Now a lot of schools have closed their swimming pools because of OSH regulations, because of the overbearing namby-pamby,
well, your people have been in power for a good 2 years now, and the repeal of those kind of areas.
And Labour was in power for 9 years.
Yeah, but come on,
okay, question to both of you. Do you think the problem is Len's focus was on winning the election and not running the city after he won? Is it a political management issue or teething problems with the super city?
I don't believe it's teething problems with the super city. It's a political management issue. Len Brown stood for everything, and now he's dying for everything as well.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is that, naturally Len Brown, once he's in office, would be drawn into central Auckland politics. The same problem would have occurred if you had John Banks, for example, being a successful campaigner and becoming the mayor of Manukau or North Shore or West. How could he, in the first quarter of the first year, understand all of the intricacies of these outer areas? Right. At least Len Brown does understand some of the wants of the most needing people in this city. I think that there is a lot of work, obviously, Bomber, for him to come to grips with exactly what to do in central Auckland and pull the representation out to the outer areas.
What should his priorities be in 2011?
Well, his priorities should be focusing on reducing rates, not increasing rates. The first thing he did was jack the rates up. And the second thing he did was have secret meetings about who's going to be on the boards, which then we all found out about that anyway. So he's dying in the ditch over silly things. What he should be really focusing on is getting the Auckland Council running in a cohesive manner to deliver the services that people need rather than want. There's heaps of people out there who want all sorts of stuff, but frankly we just can't afford it. The rates increases would be phenomenal to deliver all of those sorts of things. So it's a matter of choosing what the right things are to do for the city. And frankly, the fight that's going on over a couple of old dunga houses out in Kohimarama is just ridiculous. I mean, if you go and see those houses, there's nothing spectacular about them. And now you've got news today of people saying they'll do almost anything except dip into their own prodigious pockets and buy the damn houses themselves.
What should his priorities be? Shouldn't he be hitting up bloody central government for more money because the super city's got that kind of political muscle? Why isn't he doing that?
That's got to be the first priority. He's got to realise, and his political advisors have got to realise, that every cabal that's out there that wants to see him fail will attempt to fragment his support bases. And it will try to fragment his arguments, try to fragment his goals, and certainly try to destroy his ability to deliver on those. He needs to stand firm and realise that he has been elected by the majority of Aucklanders here and demand of central government their money to achieve these goals that they campaigned on.
Seen from the same... okay, what has Len won and lost so far?
He hasn't. He won the election and he hasn't won anything since. Because Len is a politician of slogans. There is no depth to him.
Unlike John Banks, yeah, sure.
John's not the mayor. We're talking about who the mayor is, right? And so if you're a politician of slogans and you don't have anything to back those up or any overriding belief other than to take other people's money and to use that. You guys say that we should be getting the money from central government. The council has the right to take rates. That's what their budget is. There shouldn't be any government money.
If that's the case, put a differential of tax in so Aucklanders do not pay the same amount of tax as every other region.
Auckland has been underfunded.
If that is the case,
I totally agree with that. I totally agree that it's been underfunded.
Push that to your policy mates and National Party.
But the thing is that Len Brown is running a clutch of policies that are the domain of central government, not from the Auckland Council. And so by running those social policies and taking it from rates, that means those rates can't be used on doing the things that the city needs to do.
Okay, thank you, panel. Issue 2. The Botany by-election is in March, and not since the Springbok Tour protests have so many right-wingers rushed in to stamp their mark. Who will emerge and who will win? Selwyn, who had any idea that Maggie Barry's green thumb would turn so blue? What does National need in Botany?
Oh, I think Maggie Barry's always been a conservative and representing a conservative media outlet.
Yeah. I think she imbibed in a bit too much Chardonnay over Christmas and had a rush of shit to the brains.
In asking around, and certainly Cam would have more inside information from the innards of the National Party, but asking around, it's rather a surprise and trying to actually figure out who are the backers behind Maggie Barry.
None.
We
There
know
are no
Cam's,
backers.
we know Cam's father is in behind Jamie Lee Ross,
Yes.
and then that group. We know that Judith Collins is in behind Daniel Newman. As far as
I
Maggie,
wouldn't-
yeah,
I
no,
wouldn't
no,
bet- I wouldn't
I'd
lay
go
money
and
on that.
recheck that.
No,
if
I
were
wouldn't
you.
lay money on that. Let me tell you.
Your mates Ross and Batnagar are
Do you mean
running.
Dani Cran? That's
Have
his
they-
real name.
Have they committed enough evil deeds and drained enough blood of innocents to get the nod?
Sorry, I don't know who you're describing.
Ross and Batnagar, have they done enough evil to get the nod?
Well, I don't think Aaron's as popular as he'd like to think he is.
Well, he's got good reason. He's been tainted with the Richard Worth campaigns
Well, there's the
and
Richard
losses
Worth.
in Epsom.
The
If
thing
he was
with
going
Aaron
to
is
stand anywhere,
unfortunately,
why doesn't he stand there?
well, he's the electorate chair of Epsom. One
Yeah,
has
exactly.
to ask why he's
Change
not
hats.
standing in Epsom.
Yeah.
But Aaron, unfortunately, has a habit of coming second.
Who's going to get the nod? Who's going to get the nod?
I still believe that, well, there's pre-selection today. We'll
Yep.
have 5 names at the end of today
Yep.
who will be going forward for selection in 7 days. I believe that Jamie Lee Ross will come through. Maggie Barry doesn't have any backing, despite her press release saying she had wide caucus and leadership.
Yeah.
That was just a joke. That's the death knell in the National Party to claim that. And secondly, it shows her inept political abilities, because saying you have the caucus backing, the caucus doesn't vote. The delegates aren't caucus.
It's an interesting time for the National Party. It's going to signal up. Like, if it was going to have someone as young as Jamie Lee Ross, you would want someone who's actually got an academic background and also a professional background. This guy is no Simon Upton, so why would you put a young guy like that into your caucus? Well, you've got someone like Daniel Newman, for example, who who has actually got political,
he changed his name.
Political nous. He has got the Press Council
Hang on a
backing,
second.
understands
Hang on a
policy.
second. Daniel Newman was a
and
member
an
of the
academic
ACT Party,
record.
fell out with the ACT Party, joined the Labour Party, worked for George Hawkins in Parliament, is still a mate of George Hawkins,
So
and he
the
wants to
National
stand for the
Party's
National
scared that
Party?
He's a Manchurian candidate for the Labour Party. Oh, and you want to put in a young guy who's had no track record in real life or academia into a position of advancing
but having
the
a track
youth of
record
the
in
party's
academia is
caucus
no
run.
recommendation in the National Party.
No,
Let
No,
me
certainly
tell
not,
you.
no, certainly not in the bloody National Party. If you're smart, they shoot you.
I'm just saying, Jamie Lee Ross bowing out of his planned university career to stand next to Dick Quacks, an ACT member, for Manukau City Council, there's no background here.
The new
no
Citizens
Simon
Party,
Upton, put it that way.
the new Citizens Party met in Beijing to discuss the botany by-election. Does that help remove the impression that they are a political vehicle of the Communist Party? They are claiming it will be a stepping stone to gaining 6 MPs in the 2011 election. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you've got people like Stephen Ching, who have had problems when they were
Nice
inside the Labour Party.
fundraiser.
Exactly, and he's out
Magic-
to
magic
maybe you have to
money.
watch
Magic
out
money,
there.
that's right, the magic money.
He's
Yeah.
a Sammy
and
Wong,
I
Sammy Wong
remember-
of the Labour Party.
Yes.
I remember him, for example, being at fundraisers for Jonathan Hunt and George Hawkins and
Yes.
others, and putting quite a lot of money into the
That's
Labour
right,
Party and
that's
through
right.
those ways. But what we're looking at here are disgruntled people who have had to go through the major parties and are thinking, okay, maybe we can pull together an ethnic type based party. And
I
Bommy,
think you've
it
used too
needs
many
to be
words to
watched
describe
very
a
carefully
non-entity.
of who they are affiliating to offshore.
Why are they meeting in Beijing?
I mean, you've got to,
Why?
we can only guess, and one that comes is one of, this is really creepy stuff.
Yeah.
If it was
I
with
think it
certain
can
wings of
safely
the
be
United
ignored,
States,
Selwyn.
for example, we would be horrified, and I think we
Right.
have to look at it from the point of view of the other superpower actually having a tampering in a party
What's
that's running
the
here.
best outcome for Labour in the botany? What would be the best outcome?
Well, I was talking to Trevor Mallard last week, and he was saying to me that they're not even sure that they're going to actually fight the campaign.
All right. So a new left candidate.
I don't think Labour
could run in botany.
They've got to save their money, because they're,
Yep.
they're definitely worried about Chris Carter throwing his toys this year and having another by-election there.
There's a lot to
They
be said.
need to fight
There's a
Tier
lot to
2.
be
They
said.
don't need to
There's
fight
a lot to be
botany.
said for Labour strategically not running.
Yes.
It'll probably have to,
Yep.
but there's a lot to be said for not
A
running.
new left
There's
candidate could run in botany.
in
Well,
an
and
election
get a
year, you don't
spanking
want to
just
have
as
the
bad.
huge losses.
Not to win it, but to raise profile. Who wins, who loses in botany?
Well, it's hard to know where the National Party would swing on things. It's a strange party at the best of times. But
Yeah.
I would say if they had their
Spoken from
screws
someone
in the
outside
right
of
place
it.
in their head, Daniel Newman ahead of a person who can never claim to be Simon
Who wins,
Upton.
who loses?
Well, he's not claiming to be Simon Upton, and Daniel
wins, who
Newman
loses?
has a very dodgy background. Anyone who changes their name...
And they're the best candidates that you've got.
Thank you,
Daniel
panel.
Newman's
Thank you.
the next David Garrett.
Yeah. Thank you, panel. Coming up, Hone Harawira in trouble with the Māori Party for suggesting they've been captured by the Wellington political elite. Is this just another reason why the capital should be moved back to Auckland? Citizen A is back after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Citizen A. We're reviewing the week with right-wing Storm blogger Cameron Slater and editor of Scoop.co.nz, Selwyn Manning. Issue 3 this week, Hone Harawira is in trouble for pointing out that the Māori Party have cuddled up to the National Party to promote anti-worker, anti-beneficiary and anti-environmental policies, which, let's face it, is true. The Māori Party are threatening to kick him out. Where will it all end, Selwyn? Hone's getting attacked for being honest, isn't he? National are anti-worker, anti-beneficiary and anti-environment. It's because he's embarrassed the Māori Party that they're threatened again, haven't they?
Yeah, that's right. I think the Māori Party, like every other prop-up party that's been in since MMP, has got to realise that it is a healthy thing for those that are outside the executive, that are outside in caucus, get out there and actually brand themselves in where the party kind of originated from.
Yeah.
And that's all Harawira's been doing here. That's all he's been saying.
The Māori Party is a pan-Maori
these issues were important to us when we were in opposition and when we were campaigning, when we were forging a brand here. Staying true to these ideals, these policies. The thing is that every one of us, and Cam included I'm sure, can see that those that attached to the executive when they nuzzled up to the National Party here became conservative overnight. That there were issues that were raising that we knew when they were not in the executive or near it would have been heralding there on the front page arguing against such things, and they were silent.
The National Party need the Māori Party to look more moderate than they really are. Well, the Māori Party, after being so abused by Labour, were just flattered by the attention, right? How mana enhancing is this political relationship?
Well, mana enhancing is a good term that you use there because it's actually built into the Constitution. And in looking through the Constitution last night and seeing how they're possibly going to be able to discipline Hone Harawira, it's going to be very difficult for them to do that. However,
particularly if he doesn't want to be winning on this one.
Sure, but there's a couple of things in there. I think Hone's trying to have him chuck him out. Right? I think that's what he's trying to do. Their constitution is significantly waffly enough for them to be able to say, well, it's okay to have differences, but what we need to focus on is these things here, and you can't go around slagging off these people. If you actually look at the wording of them, they don't want to slag people off.
We've really got to question the political strategy and nous of Tariana Turia, Dr. Peter Sharples, when they're actually falling into Hone's trap here.
Well, what's even funnier is that they're going to see a Chinese lawyer to get their constitutional advice.
That's perfect timing for them to actually fall into the trap and lose one of their members, show fragmentation, show instability, show all of these things.
I don't think, even if they chuck him out,
along with a number of others, form a party out of those ashes.
If that's what he wants,
a grouping of independents in the
cut him loose, right? I don't think the Māori Party could win against Hone Harawira because I've already explained about this. Hone has got a large constituency of indigent. They're sitting up there, either growing or smoking or using dope. He's going to win, and he plays to his audience. He doesn't have to care about whether white people think he's racist, and he is.
So the question comes down to...
So he's only pandering to... This is the problem with having racist seats.
So let's look at it from here. So you have your hui tomorrow, Friday. You have your hui. Hone Harawira says, this is unacceptable to me. I will go out as an independent.
See you later.
He then works on pulling together a group of other people, perhaps from outside of Parliament. And then they pitch for around, what, Bomber, 3%?
Yeah, just looking 3%.
Something like that, to regroup. So then you pull in a burgeoning left party that would attach to Labour, attach to the Greens,
all the malcontents, the toy throwers like Sue Bradbury.
Other centrist parties,
so when you
form a government.
When you go to Wellington, you risk being captured politically. Is Hone just not accepting the realities of politics? Anti-worker, anti-beneficiary and anti-environment. It's the National Party. What else did he expect?
No, well, I don't know what he expected, but I think that it's right that he holds on to some of the policies that they forged that party on.
But hang on a second, Maori Party is supposed to be
pan-Maori. I think Wellington is a
Maori.
shocker for demonstrating how disattached MPs who had goodwill around them in the first instance can soon lose that and attach other
That's
baggage
why we
of
should move the civil service to
them.
Wairau.
Cam, there are many Māori who feel the way Hone does. Can the Māori Party survive if it turns into a civil war?
Well, it depends on whether they can motivate their indigent base to go out and vote. This is the problem.
They vote in large numbers. Hone had a 6,000 bloody majority, for crying out loud.
What was there, 7,000 votes or something?
You know, Labour will be
this
rubbing
is the
its
joke
hands
of it.
over this. The more the Māori
Well, they
Party
won't,
actually
because
falls
Phil
apart,
Goff
the more chance
Phil
it
Goff's
has
had
down south.
face meet hand situation by refusing to.
No, he said if you look at what, and the Kiwi blog pointed this out, he said that he was asked, is he speaking with Hone? And he said, oh no, he's not speaking with Hone at the moment. Don't twist that comment into suggesting that he was going to rule out a new
next
party.
thing there'll be a barbecue at Phil's.
Shut up. Who wins, who loses if Hone leaves the Māori Party?
Oh, I think it potentially over the next 3 years, if if things go to Hone's plan, that there could be a vehicle for a sizable amount of people to actually
do something
vote
he's
for.
never done in his life and work hard.
Who wins, who loses if Hone leaves the Māori Party?
Well, Hone Harawira is only about Hone Harawira. The guy is a bombast, a bully.
Great man.
Well,
People's hero.
anyone who says to a submitter at a select committee that they're the C word doesn't deserve any respect in my book.
Look, there are rough,
I've read your blog.
there are rough
It's
edges
hard
to
to
the
be
guy,
bloody-
clearly. But
Yeah,
once
very
again,
rough.
he represents an electorate.
Let's wrap the show with last word. Sal, and your last word this week is?
Well, I think, the interesting thing is that we watch what the National Party does in its selections in Botany. I think that will be indicative of what we can expect from the National Party through election year. What factions are dominant? Are they Cam's father's factions? Are they dominant? Or have you
My
got
father
the
doesn't
factions
even
of others
hold any
like
office in the
Judith
National
Collins,
Party, so-
who's been shoulder-tapping a
Puppet
former
master.
Labour member
Yep.
for this particular run? Those are interesting things.
think-
I'd suggest we watch that clearly.
Final word, Cam.
Yeah, I think Botany, the selection process will be interesting. I think what we'll see possibly today is 5 names will come out of the hat. We'll see Jamie Lee Ross, Aaron Batnaga, Denise Crum. Maggie Barry will get there even though she probably shouldn't, and one other. It'd be interesting to see who
Sounds
that
really
one other.
sad, Cam, if that is the outcome of it.
But Botany's a safe seat, and you want a safe pair of hands for that seat. And
So a young 20-something with no background is the safe.
Oh, that's the meme that Aaron Batnaga would like to say. But I mean, if you look at his CV and include the
Yeah, well, I
even the
wouldn't-
parts that are missing from it,
Yeah. It's a mystery why people vote for this party.
That's
to be honest.
that's not exactly going to wash when you start picking apart CVs.
Thank you, Sal, and thank you, Cam. Ladies and gentlemen, to my final word. If Hone leaves the Māori Party to form a new left party with Sue Bradford and Matt McCartan, Labour finally get an opportunity to defeat this government. Labour's current strategy is hoping that New Zealand first get over the 5% threshold, but how appealing to Liberal voters would the corpses of Winston Peters and Michael Laws rising from the political grave actually be? Hone's electoral seat, with just 3.5% of the vote, could get 5 MPs into Parliament, allowing the possibility of a Labour, Māori Party, Greens, New Left coalition. That sudden realisation could spark the far right, who are disillusioned with ACT, into launching their own party, while National will start looking less and less likely of finding any coalition partners, even if they win a majority. The mainstream media have been crowing that National will cruise to an election win this year. That now seems as medicatedly optimistic as John Key's faith in the economic recovery. If you like tonight's show, please join our Citizen A Facebook site and connect with other like-minded news citizens, and follow me on my Citizen Bomber Twitter and Citizen Bomber Facebook page.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.